Everybody, I'm More Gravity. Let's play chess. Lost this game. Let's see, was it a close game or not? I think my opponent pretty much just got me down a piece early. My opponent played strong chess. That's what happened. Not bad, not bad. Good, good. It's better to go lose against somebody. If you lose against somebody and they played a really great game, kind of makes you feel like, wow, that's what happens when somebody plays a really great game. Let's play another one. Okay. That's good, Jordan. Okay. This is a good game. Alright, give me a moment here, folks. Let me just. All right. This black takes up a sort of semi-English setup in the early stages here, developing pieces, getting out there, so on. Take the pawn. Take the pawn. Don't take the pawn. I think it's better to take the pawn. Rushing to castle's kingside, and you know that pawn may no longer be free for the taking. So I take the pawn. D3 to boot the knight, and D5 to say maybe I want your bishop for, giving up this wonderful knight. Also, in a position this early, D5 is one of those moves that it's unexpected, but it's okay. It doesn't win off bat. No. Does it lose off right off the bat? No. It's okay. Pawn to D5 kind of poses different questions than you might often see in this position. Bishop goes back to A2. I like that. I think that was smart. That was the right place for this bishop. He does not want to get overrun by pawns on the queen side, and he'll be safe on A2 while still having eyes as far as D5. And then when something happens involving D5, it's to F7, and then who knows, maybe even the king could participate, maybe even my king, my opponent's light squared bishop could be part of an attack on black's king. So I like to see that. That's a strong move, and I'm happy to go back to knight or to play knight F6. I'm happy to play knight F6. I have my extra pawn, and I want to keep my knight on the board without anything, too irregular. Like that was just an illegal move without anything too irregular, like knight to D6. B3 was the one move in this entire game. B3, I thought, my opponent wants to make white's dark squared bishop powerhouse, a superstar, whatever, however you want to call it. I understand that, but you're blocking in your other bishop, so I wasn't really so sure about pawn to B3. Your black is developing pieces to E6. Safe, the pieces are shielded and helping to shield black's king. Contesting, certain bishops that white has. And like I said, my opponent will make a very strong bishop on B2, or has made a very strong bishop on B2. So now I play this move, Queen D7. Perhaps too fast, but that's also, what's this? Perhaps too fast, but that's also kind of the point. There's this thematic sacrifice of the bishop on H3, and the queen needs to be there for that to occur. king to h2. It's just marked as a miss. I think my opponent might have been better off with knight to g5, attacking the bishop and guarding h3, that important second time as well. It's not the only move. King h2 is not the only move that guards this. So knight to g5, attacking this bishop and guarding, I think is probably called for here. I want to see knight to g5 for white here. It's not one of black's top moves by Torch. And maybe it's better to get the pawn in the center. Well, okay, be that as it may, maybe this really was a miss then. I thought it was solid, protecting the h3 pawn, keeping this attack at bay. There's gonna be an attack, right? We all know this is an attack that's waiting to happen. So keeping the h3 pawn protected as much as possible, I thought was smart here for white. I'm getting my pawns rolling. Now the move that we were thinking a couple moves earlier. Torch doesn't like it. I like it. I'd say this is exactly what that knight needs to do, is to take off that bishop who's participating in a strong battery aimed directly at white's king. Seems like a good idea to little me. But queen takes e6. My opponent finishes his development, completes his development. And so here comes, black is making a kingside attack. We're throwing pawns at the situation. We're throwing queens with check at this situation. We're renewing our check. This was a bit of a tactic here, even after, the tactic starts with this, I think this is called a popcorn attack. You attack a knight and a pawn. So my opponent can't close the position, even if this pawn were elsewhere. My opponent can't close the position because the knight's being attacked. So so the pawn advancing is not a good move. So capturing on e4 is one way to deal with this. Then the attack renews anyway in this situation, not always. Or moving the knight. So it's this attack, the move e4, and it is known to cause a ruckus on the chessboard. It sure is. Pawn to e4 and these popcorn attacks. This sound like it's because it's not really right away a very strong attack, right? Like popcorn is soft, and as soon as it gets wet, it sort of dissolves and stuff. It's not a very strong attack, but it does get a lot of tactics flowing in many chess games. My opponent played a good move. Pawn takes e4, like I said. He can't really go past, but he can capture. In this case, he could go past, I think, because of how much strength white has on d4. But in very many cases where you see this structure, where you see that structure, it forces action very often. All right, so a capture, a recapture, and pressing the knight. And my opponent got maybe a little bit too sneaky here with bishop to b4. A discovered attack against the queen, and the attacking piece is protected. I spotted a tactic, and it was a good one to spot. Queen, because it tilted the game strongly in my favor. Queen to d6 check, and the idea, I think I saw this when I made my previous move back quite a bit here on e4. I was aware that queen d6 check could lead to queen takes d6, to bishop takes d6 check, And after moving out of the check or blocking in some way, after all that, the popcorn gets burnt here on f3. It's a nice tactic. As a nice tactic, and now black's job is to consolidate, trade pieces. If there's an attack against the white king, strong enough against the white king, then pursue it. We'll watch most of this out as we play, gathering another point of material there. Pawn f2 makes promotion an issue for my opponent. I'm not the one doing the calculating here. My opponent's doing the calculating for the most part because my pieces are so aggressively orchestrated. There's a check that picks up an exchange, and now under extreme time pressure, I set up a net towards promotion. First, a net towards eliminating my opponent's remaining pieces, and then promotion. Under time pressure like this, a move like rook to a1 is part of my progress and improvement. I would be scared about rook to a1 and hope that like h4 would just magically, become open for the rook to skirt over and do this, or I'd rely too heavily on the pawn at g7 to capture at the right moment. No, I played rook to a1, knowing that king to g2 was possible, but there was still enough to stop things and claim the win, most likely. So all the way here, where we are going to, if we have to, we will sacrifice the rook on h1 because of the intense time pressure. So I'm now in pre-move territory. Subscribers can make pre-moves, and I'm a subscriber, so I get to make pre-moves, and hey, I use it. Pawn to a3, a2, we're all pre-moving here, and then I think I decided to double along the, or not quite double, but then close things down on the h file here with rook to h2 checkmate. I had a blast playing this game. I had a blast playing this particular chess game. So, all right. Thank you so much for watching. I'm More Gravity. Have a great night. I wear my ring on my thumb sometimes. Have a great night. I can't figure the camera out there. Thank you guys. Have a great night.